Woodie has been an underwhelming character for a really long time. Not only his animated short has no lore whatsoever, but he was also one of the most annoying characters to play, as the transformations would often make situations worse than better, especially when you'd have no hunger or sanity when turning back to human form, which often would lead to a deadly situation. And the lack of control over the transformations would make this character almost unplayable, especially when a weaker bottom is bringing a full moon every night, or during one of the most crucial parts of this game's progress, the moonstorms. It just made this character not worth the pick, as its several downsides heavily outweighed the very minor upsides. But all of that has changed as a skill tree was added to the character, not only solving some of the major downsides previously mentioned, not only buffing some of the character's original perks significantly, but also making some incredible additions that I will be showing in today's video, where I will defeat all bosses solo as Woodie. So hello and welcome to my video. They finally made Woodie powerful, and just before we begin, let me briefly talk about my skill setup. I'm using all the transformation timer skills, so the wereforms will last longer. Curse Embracer allows Woodie to return from wereform with a little bit of hunger instead of 0. And it also removes the penalties from eating the idols. I'm using the Weregoose 1 to make the goose faster, and I'm using all of Moose's skills as I want to maximize the Moose power for boss fights. Treeguard Feller 1 and 2 together allows me to deal double damage to Treeguards, but I'm only picking those to have access to the third skill that allows me to create a Treeguard idol that will summon 2 Treeguards when burnt. Woodworker allows Woodie to save 1 log when making boards, and Cane Carving allows Woodie to craft the wooden walking stick that increases the player's speed by 15% when worn. And as for the final affinity, when it comes to killing all bosses, I think Lunar Renegade is a no-brainer, as speaking this skill protects Woodie against the forced random transformations during full moons, which is crucial when the moonstorms are active. And it also increases damage against shadow-aligned creatures, which is pretty nice since I will need to farm a lot of nightmare fuel throughout the run. With that said, we begin our new Don't Starve Together's adventure with the goal of killing every single boss in the game solo as Woodie. We got a really good start. Day 1 we managed to find the Mosaic biome, which guarantees us the science machine just a few minutes in the run. And as I collect resources, I burn down a tree to get charcoal, which is the only ingredient I still need to make the wooden walk stick. It requires no science, so I can instantly be 15% faster with my early game exploration of the world. Jumping on a wormhole, I get to a forest where I can find pig houses, which I destroyed to make an alchemy engine. But I got distracted with Twitch chat and destroyed my science machine before making it. Oops. And we also take our time killing spiders for monster meat, as it is the main ingredient for all of Woodie's transformations. Day 3 we found the terrarium, the spawner for the first boss of the run, but I decided to wait just another day to start the fight, that we take as the Moose. With all skills, the Moose becomes really good in combat. Woodie has 90% damage reduction in Moose form, so it is as tanky as the Tulosite gear. But it is 10% slower than the player, and it attacks a little bit slower than the normal character. It has night vision, which is incredibly useful by itself, and it can charge in a direction, which you can use to quickly hit multiple targets with it, as the Moose gets stun immunity while charging, and it can charge on objects to break them, but the skills can make it much better. With all skills enabled, the Moose can be a little faster, having the same speed as the human form, so it can actually dodge most boss attacks, especially if you're using roads for a little bit extra speed. It restores health over time, which is a really big deal, as there's technically no other way to restore health in Moose form, as one of the downsides of the were forms is not having access to your inventory and not being able to interact with any items. It can stop charging, and by having control of it, you can actually use it to dodge faster attacks. And the mastery allows the moose to deal a whopping 136 damage if you manage to deal 3 consecutive hits uninterrupted. And this third hit is not only big damage, it also has a small area of effects. Unfortunately, the moose is not able to kill the Eye of Terror in a single night, but I took advantage of this form afterwards to make quick work of the pigs in this village, granting me plenty of boards, cutstone, and pigskin. The wear meter will drain over time, but as the moose, as long as you're fighting something, the wear form will last for much longer. So you can get a lot done with one idol if you plan your fights well. And in the next night, day 6, I officially defeated the first boss of this run. After spending about 2 more days on the surface selecting the permanent location for my base, I went to the caves, gathered some blue caps for healing, and this is the first time we're seeing the goose in this run. The goose is 40% faster than the human character, and the skill adds about 15% on top of it, making the goose ideal for exploration and for quickly walking long distances. But remember that the goose puts you on a vulnerable spot, as you have no armor, no way to attack, and no way to interact with anything. It also drains your sanity over time, just like the other wereforms, so nightmare creatures can become a problem, especially when you just want to reverse the transformation. So use the goose with caution. With all skills, the goose transformation lasts for a bit more than 7 minutes, which allowed me to explore the caves to map out an entire branch of the ruins, and also brought me to the second branch where I would find the entrance to Ancient Guardian's maze. And after finding our way through it to reach the arena, we moosed it up. It's always good to unequip your hand and helmet items before transforming, as they drop on the floor if you don't. Otherwise, this might happen. Where's my lantern? Where's my lantern? Did I leave it behind? Anyway, the moose fight against AG is really good. Since you attack it only when it's stunned, you can get a ton of consecutive hits on it and deal a ton of damage. When it's about to wake up, you can quickly charge behind one of the pillars or the broken ones, rinse and repeat until the end. What I find most satisfying about fighting as the moose is how your cost for the fight is monster meat and grass. No supplies wasted on armor or weapons whatsoever, so not only you get to deal more damage and have a ton of damage reduction, but you also get it basically for free. It's also worth noticing that the second phase of AG is shadow aligned, which means my lunar affinity grants me even more damage against it. Unfortunately, I didn't bring as many moose idols as I should have for the ruins, only brought one for Ancient Guardian, so I had to clear the bishops as human form. after clearing some of the ruins, getting all sorts of gems and items, crafting all the items I needed at the pseudoscience station, I activated the goose to go back home. I left stuff at base, gathered more monster meats for more idols, and my plan was to go back to the ruins because I had a master plan for this run, and this plan requires some setup. My original plan was to bring the walls and gates to the ruins with me to set this up earlier, but I was on autopilot and forgot to bring those. And that's the main reason for my returning. Oh my gosh, CatPerson is cheating. The experienced player might already know why I'm planting trees in the atrium, but if you don't know, well, no spoiler now, I guess you will have to keep watching. Why do I always come here and see you void walking? Cheaters be cheating. Now that the setup has initiated, we getting back on track by fighting the next boss, the Nightmare Werepig. That is a pretty fun fight as the Moose. You have just enough speed to dodge its attacks, and Moose's damage reduction makes the fight pretty safe, at least if you're not face tanking. The major problem is your sanity and the werepig's healing mechanic. The werepig has a big insanity aura, which only gets worse with the natural wereform sanity drain. Often you see yourself fighting nightmare creatures more than the actual boss, and the fact that the werepig restores health whenever you're not actively fighting it just makes it a lot longer than it needed to be. The wormies were really a blessing in disguise, huh? And indeed they were. Because of the monster meats on the floor, I managed to make another moose idol to finish the fights, defeating the third boss of the run. And now we are running against time, as we do want to fight the shadow pieces at day 21. We only have about 4 days to find the stat piece and to bring and assemble the scattered marble pieces. I always prefer to have this fight day 21 instead of 41, as there's a lot more that can go wrong at day 41 if you get unlucky. At day 41, it's early spring, there's a big chance it will be raining and even the chance of a frog rain happening during the fights, which definitely makes it sketchier than it needs to be. Not only day 21 is a better day to fight it, but in my opinion, it's also better efficiency wise, to complete time related goals as early as possible. So we take advantage of the goose form to explore the map faster, and we end up finding the set piece rather quickly. Unfortunately, none of the wereforms have any ability related to carrying heavy statues, so we have to rely on the original strat, using a beefalo. And with the pieces assembled, it is time to fight it at day 21 at night. The moose is very nice for these fights. You get to deal a lot more damage than the normal character for the cost of monster meats and grass. And also dodge the level 3 Shadow Rook for free by dashing when he attacks, so no need for speed boost from items or roads. Basically a free fight for Woodie. After the fights and almost dying to Mactusk and Hounds, I did a bunch of resource gathering for the next few days. I was mainly waiting for it to snow so I could give Pearl the Dapper Vest. The importance of giving the item to her in winter is to get the pearl easily in autumn. If I didn't complete this task now, I would have to give her 5 heavy fish in spring to get the pearl, or wait for summer to give her the flower salad. So this is the most efficient way to complete her tasks in an all bosses run. And funny enough, I found Crab King on my way there. After giving her the vest and leaving some items there for later, I took advantage of the moose form when going back to find the salt formation for cookie cutter shells later. Also scouted for the sack and the deers. I worked a little bit on my base, and then at day 27 I fought claws. This fight is pretty easy on the first phase. What I wanted to show is you can tank the heat attack. Barely does anything to you. The second phase is a bit messier. I'm sure someone with actual skill can dodge the pounce attack, but I basically tanked all the way to the end of the fight, but that goes just to show how tanky the moose is. And I also got the worst loot possible, GG. Then I went to the caves to gather fossils. and since I was in the caves at day 30 at night, it delayed Deerclops's spawn to day 31. Luckily, the night of day 31 is a very long one, so I had just enough time to complete the moon altar events for the moon color staff. But it didn't mean Deerclops wouldn't be watching it the whole time with her singular eye. Since this was a very scuffed moment and I didn't have any moose idols on me, I just had to fight her myself with Dreadstone helmets, which was a terrible idea because I spent more time fighting nightmare creatures than actually fighting her. And this was the first time in the run where I used the Treeguard idol to summon Treeguards. As you will see later, I will need a lot of living logs for some very unique Woodie strategies. The double damage you get from the skills also makes farming those living logs a much better experience. And after working to get a shadow manipulator and farming for a few items, I made my way to the atrium once again to learn a very valuable lesson. Trees you plants don't grow after the first stage if they are completely unloaded. So we have to once again wait. Early spring was very slow. I focused more on gathering resources, working on my small base, and on completing Pearl's tasks. Goodbye. And at day 42, I made my way back to the atrium to find the trees finally fully grown. Which means now it is finally the time you were waiting for, an explanation to what the hell is the meaning behind this. Well, this strategy is actually much simpler than you might imagine. I'll be turning these 8 trees that I planted into 8 Treeguards by burning 4 idols, and I will put them to sleep immediately so they stay in place. And then simply start the Field Weaver fight and make it knock down a tree. By placing this skeleton close to the tree, it knocks it down instantly, aggroing all the Treeguards on the boss. And then all we have to do is to take care of the unseen hands to remove the invincibility shield and target as many wovens as possible so it doesn't heal as much. Just be careful when trying this strategy to make Field Weaver and the Treeguards fight at the center of the arena. Their positioning is actually very important since if they fight on top of an unseen hand, you will simply not be able to target it to remove his invincibility shield, which means Field Weaver will win. And that is basically the only worry you have with this strategy. Field Weaver is my favorite boss and I usually don't cheese it, but this unique Woodie strategy was actually very fun to try out, and it has my seal of approval. And also keep in mind that if I knew about the trees not growing, I could have killed this boss much earlier, and it would even open up the possibility of using the new items from the Shadow Rift for the rest of the bosses. But that was not the plan for today's run. Instead, we have to get back on track. There's another boss that should have been defeated during winter that we must defeat now, the Twins of Terror. The strategy for the twins is very simple but very effective. One pamphlet when they spawn and moves it up. Bring the green eye away from the other and just fight it by walking on a road. The road gives the moose the speed boost necessary to dodge the dashes, and it also allows you to move away from the spawned peepers, so they don't stop you from damaging the boss. Other than that, you just deal with the green before the orange one, since it dashes constantly on the second phase, and it makes the fight a whole lot slower if you have it the other way around. Moose's AoE proves itself a big advantage here, as you frequently get big hits on the peepers just as they spawn, which makes them easier to deal with. Just after the first of several nights of fighting the twins, I decided to take down the moose goose that was just nearby. The moose form lasts for a pretty long time if you're constantly fighting, so not only I fought one of the twins for a night, I also killed Moose Goose, the Moslings, and I took down a spider den nearby. All of that for the cost of one well-utilized moose idol. And after 4 days, the twins are defeated. At day 50, a mini-boss appeared, the Lord of the Fruit Flies. I usually just hold down F until it's dead. At day 51, I decided to take down another mini-boss, the Spider Queen, because why not? And later that day, I completed the Moon Altar events again. one moon staff for the gem for the archives and the other one for summer season. And at day 53 I fought Bee Queen. Now it is very unfortunate, but this fight is basically Wilson versus Bee Queen, as there's absolutely nothing special about it as Woodie. There's no way to aggro Treeguards on Bee Queen or Bee Queen on Treeguards, so that strategy simply doesn't work, and the Moose form, well, let's just say it doesn't end well. So I will make this fight fast for you. Spawn her, Pamphlet, kill all the Grumblebees but one, tank to the second phase, then Pamphlet, attack her, Pamphlet, attack her, Pamphlet, attack her, run away, Pamphlet, attack her, run away, Pamphlet, attack her, and 12 minutes later, GG. First day of summer, I got the cookie cutter shells I still needed and completed all of Pearl's tasks to get the pearl. So let's fight Antlion. Once again, Moose is just insane for this fight. The AoE allows you to clear your way through the spikes, and the fight just goes by really fast. Honestly, easiest Antlion fight of my life. And now it is Crab King time. Since I didn't get any Vote Gold Horns, and as a form of protest against this horrendous boss and the stupid Vote Gold Horn RNG, I'm cheesing it with bees. And if you know how this fight goes normally, needless to say, there's no special Woodie play against it, the usual Wilson versus Crab King. But this cheese strategy is quite simple. I left killer bees in this bundle. You can do the same with a backpack if you are on a budget. Start the fight, set the bundle on fire. Once the bubbles appear, you place a second boat and roll away with it. It is important to be away from the bees when they pop up, so they don't aggro on you. Then you gotta be at a correct distance from Crab King and roll away from the bubbles. If you stay too close, the claws are gonna destroy your boats. If you stay too far, Crab King will freeze the bees and heal. But even if you mess up and stay too far, the fight is still recoverable. I put a Flingomatic in the boat so I wouldn't have to worry about wildfires on it. And after that, it is all about having patience. So I decided to not kill Toadstool. No, normal Toadstool is too easy. I decided to kill Misery Toadstool. Why? Because it's fun, chat. Misery Toadstool is so much fun. Everyone knows that. Right? Right, chat? It's fun, right? Chat? So I set up some trees to help me, and I went to the archives to complete the puzzle. Found the lunar pieces on the surface, moved all the pieces to Lunar Island, started the moonstorms, and goosed back to land. And when I was about to start the fight, I've made a big mistake. Wait a minute. That's not my freaking burb. By the time I got back there, the Treeguards were everywhere, and the fight was really scuffed. Of course, this would not be a certified CatPerson run if I didn't mess up something really badly, and this was it. The strategy would have been the same as Weaver, but for Toadstool, there's no need to cap the amount of Treeguards that are helping you out. You can use as many as you want, but you do need to make Toadstool knock down a tree to aggro all of them at once, and that was my mistake. I started the fight, but the Treeguards were everywhere, and since I planted the trees a little bit too far from the mushroom, Toad didn't break it on spawn, and the Treeguards were keeping him from reaching and destroying the trees. And Toadstool decided to attack the nearby trees, which doesn't aggro all of them as they don't have the herd mentality. It only aggroed the ones that got damaged. So here's how the fights went. Hey, at least the fight was not that long, only 12 minutes to finish it. So I wanted to kill Malbatross just for the sake of it. The spawn mechanic is still hot dumpster fire. So I fished all the base from the shoal and no Malbatross. Completed the Moonstorm, barely respawned, so I tried to make it spawn Treeguards to kill him, and I spent another few minutes fishing until Malbatross spawned. Once again, this is just a normal fight. If you use the Weremuse, you will have no way to aggro her when she decides to take a step back on the final phase. So it is better to just do it normally. And there is a boss we're still missing before the final boss of this run. We are still missing Dragonfly. And funny enough, after clearing the Hound Mounds with the Moose form, for the first time in this run, I used the Werebeaver to get the rocks to make the walls for Dragonfly. So I moosed it up and started the fights. But there's a twist. When she went to spawn the Levi's, I just let the Moose form go away and fought it normally from there, because if she enrages, I'm done. While it is possible to fight enraged Dragonfly as the Moose, it is extremely hard, and being honest, I'm simply not good enough to try that high risk strategy. I could have used another boost idol after pamphleting her enraged form, but at this point of the run, I have enough armor, dark swords, and healing to not need the Moose form to save supplies. So the rest of the fights went as normally. So I got all the experiments and items needed for Celestial Champion, collected a stack of blue mushrooms to restore my health and lower my sanity between phases, and I've killed Celestial Champion fully as the Weremuse. This is also a fight where the Jellybean Moose strategy is really good. The Jellybean Moose strategy is what it sounds. You consume the Jellybean before transforming, and since its healing effect is over time, you keep healing yourself even when in Were form. And that's the end of this run. Every single boss, including mini bosses, have been defeated in 89 days. And that goes just to show how powerful Woodie is now. I think Woodie deserves to be at the bottom of A tier. He has decent abilities to farm resources as the Beaver. The Moose form is incredibly powerful on some fights, being an extremely cheap way to take down certain bosses. And the Goose is very good for exploration, for going to the ruins or visiting islands. Given how cheap the transformations are and how useful they can be, Woodie has finally become a really good and fun character, and I thoroughly enjoyed the boss run as him. With that said, I hope this video was entertaining for you, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more contents. It also helps if you like the video and leave a comment. And as you could tell, this run was streamed on Twitch. So if you want to join us over there to chat, to ask questions about the game, or to just chill, we'll be happy to have you there. I'll see you on the next one, and as always, thank you for watching.